All right, here it is, the Stylophone Compact Portable Modular Analog Dynamic Multi-Filter 8, otherwise known as the CPM DF-8. And in this video, we're going to do an unboxing, we're going to have a look at the key features of this really cool filter, and of course, we're going to hear exactly what it sounds like. Now, before we do that, do hit the like and subscribe, because we're going to do even more videos, we're going to do deeper dives, and you don't want to miss out on that now, do you? Okay, let's open the box and see what we've got in here. We've got a handy printed out manual, which is really cool, and we'll take you through all of the key areas and features of the DF-8, so keep that handy. We've got obviously the main unit here, nice little stylophone bag. Here it is, very cool, pop up there. And of course we've got in here some batteries, because the just like the drone synthesizer, we can run the DF-8 from batteries, so it comes included with the batteries that you need to get you going, which is 6 AAs. And then we also have some phone-in patch cables, which will help us connect this together with our modular system or with the DS2 or whatever it is that you want to use this with. And we also have this handy little connector, which I'll show you exactly what that does in a minute. Now you notice that the DF-8 is the same form factor and size as the DS2, their analog drone synthesizer, which is a brilliant and very creative synthesizer in its own right. But paired with the DF-8 allows you even more sonic exploration. Not only that, it also pairs physically, because these units are actually designed to couple together so that they join together, and that provides a really clean workspace for you when you're making your music, allows ease of use. And this little piece of plastic that I mentioned that comes with either unit actually allows you to snap them together and make them nice and secure, so you have these units now connected together, and that's a really cool thing, really neat idea. It just stops them sliding around, and it allows your workspace to just stay neat and tidy. Now the DF-8, just like the DS2, can be powered in a number of ways, whether that's with the batteries, which you access here on the back. Let's just pop those in. Or it can be powered by a 12-volt power supply, which you connect here on the back. Or simply unscrew it from its case, pop it in your Eurorack system, power it from there, and of course once it's inside your Eurorack system, you can take advantage of all your other sound sources and your modulation sources, plug it into the DF-8, and of course expand your range of sonic possibilities. Okay, let's have a look at what the DF-8 offers in terms of functionality on the front panel. Let's start over on the left. We have our envelopes, which we can use for opening and closing our filters. Our filters are here, 1 and 2, they're identical. Each filter actually offers 8 different flavors of filter. There's a noise generator, and over here on the right hand side we have our mixing section as well, where we can mix together the 2 outputs of the filters. We've also got delay there that we can use. We've got a variety of outputs that we can use, including headphones and the main outputs. We've also got a built-in speaker, which again makes it more portable, and there's also sample and hold that you can play around with. Now that's it very brief, so let's dive in, let's have a little listen to things. In fact, what I'll do is I'll get my synthesizer from over here, and I'll go into the audio input of our first filter. Now the DF-8 will work with basically any audio input, whether it's a drum machine, whether it's some samples, whether it's another sampler, whether it's your DS2, anything will work into that audio input and allow you to run that audio through these amazing filters that we'll run through now. So let's take the audio output from the DF-8. So I'm just going to plug that into my main output here, and I'll turn up the input now of this filter on my mixer. and you can hear my DS2, which is just off screen for now for the purpose of this video. I could have connected it up to the DF-8, but I really want the focus of this video to be on the DF-8. Okay, let's put the filter in. So that's the filter is now engaged in the signal path, because we can bypass that completely, as we can with the built-in VCA. VCA, if we turn that on, we're not going to get any sound at all. We need to open and close that amplifier. I'm just going to leave that open for now. We'll get to that. So with the filter engaged, there we go. And of course the filter is resonant, so we have a resonance pot here, which allows us to bring out that resonance of the filter there. Now, as I mentioned, this particular filter, in fact for both of the filters, you get 8 different flavors of filter types that you can choose from. Now the first 4 come from the Stylophone Generate synthesizer, which maybe not many of you have because, well, it was a very small production run and only very few were made, and that was back in 2019. However, not to worry, what they've actually gone and done here is taken those filters from that amazing synthesizer, put them directly into the DF-8. So now you can run any of your audio through those legendary filters. So let's just have a quick listen. So that was the low pass. We also have the band pass. The high pass. And also a notch filter. Now, the Generate itself is known for being a bit of a beast. It's dark, it's crunchy, it's pretty brutal sounding. And Stylophone tend to call this the beauty and the beast, in that the beast comes from the Generate filters that are available to you. But over on the other side here, we've got the beauty. We have got this faithful recreation, analog recreation of the 2045 chip, which is used in some really legendary filters out there in the past. Now, these are really hard to get hold of. These faithful recreations are the closest, if not identical, to those 2045s that are much sought after. And now you've got this within the DF-8. Now the 2045, they're a little bit more sympathetic, a bit more smoother, a little bit more discreet, if you like, especially when compared to the Generate. So let's have a listen to that, for example. Here's the Generate low pass filter. Let's have a listen to the 2045. Again, the Generate. And the 2045. So you've got lots of different flavors to play around with there. But that's not where it stops, because what Stylophone have gone and done is actually made some hybrid versions by taking the low pass filter of the 2045 and combining it with aspects of the Generate filter. So here we can introduce to you what's called the BP Plus. Now the BP Plus essentially takes the high pass filter from the Generate and puts it in series with the low pass filter of the 2045. And this beautiful combination gives you a really unique output. Now the next one we've got is Notch Plus. What this does, it takes the high pass from the Generate, and this time it puts it in parallel with the low pass from the 2045. This kind of phaser-like sound. Really nice. And the Band Stop Plus goes a step further. It's essentially the same in that it takes the high pass and puts that in parallel with the low pass of the 2045, but puts the peaks further apart by several more octaves. And you get a sound as if there's almost two filter sweeps there, which in fact there are. Both of them with their own resonant peaks. Very nice. Okay, so that's all great, but we don't want to sit here all day long just opening and closing this filter. As much fun as that is, why don't we use the built-in envelopes to open and close that for us? And we can do that in a number of different ways. The first way is simply by using this open button here, that when we press it will trigger envelope 1 over here. All we need to do is set our attack, decay, sustain and release portions to get the desired kind of rise and fall of the sound that we want, and then turn up the depth of that to impact the filter here. Longer on the attack. Now get a slower sound on the attack. Increase the sustain, so as I hold down that button, it's a continuous sound until I let go, and then we get the fall on the release there. Now this envelope is also applied to the VCA, so if we engage the VCA for the first time, that will also be applied to that. So if we wanted to, we could now disengage the filter and simply just use the VCA, giving you lots of different choices depending on what it is that you want to achieve with your music. Now there's actually several other ways that you can also trigger that envelope. Instead of using that button there, you could actually take a gate from your sequencer. So this could be from your step sequencer, this could be from your DAW, this could also be from, your modular system, and plug that into the gate input for envelope 1. Every time it receives a gate from your sequencer, it will trigger that envelope for you. And you can really hear the difference now if we disengage the filter and just have the VCA compared to if we include the filter as well. Let's just have a little listen to some of the delay while we're here, shall we? Now the delay can actually go from really short times through to quite long. We can turn up the repeats. To really long. But I digress. Let's go back to the envelope, because there's actually other ways that we can actually trigger that envelope as well, which are a little bit more interesting. Now what that special way is that we can actually use the audio input going into the filter to trigger the envelope depending on how loud it is. So let me show you. I'm just going to exchange the DS2 and instead I'm going to plug in a drum loop that I've just got coming from my laptop here. So it's just an audio into the audio input and we have a drum loop. And just like before, if I wanted to, I could open and close that filter using that. But next to it, we have this little switch. And what that does, it engages this threshold. And what that'll do is look at the audio input coming into the DF-8. Once it reaches a certain threshold, it will trigger the envelope for us. So let me show you. So put that on. And you can hear that whenever it's receiving quite a loud beat, and that's why I'm using a drum kit here, it's a bit more dynamic, it's opening and closing that filter. We can shape that envelope still, so we can get very tight hits. We can play around with the depth. And of course we can try all of these wonderful different filter types to get different outputs. Let's try some delay on that. So now we've completely transformed that drum loop that's going into here. Now, as I mentioned at the start, each filter's also got its own noise generator. Simply by turning that up, we can add some noise into the mix. Very cool. Now, the last way that you can actually trigger the envelopes here, instead of using the threshold here or the button to trigger the envelope or even a gate input, what we can actually do is put this envelope into a looping mode so that we actually generate a bit more of an LFO, if you like, and we can use that to open and close the filter. So all we do is change the ADSR into AR looping mode. I'll just turn off the delay for now. And using just the attack and release, we can open and close that filter using that. Let's try back to low pass on the 2045 there and just increase the depth of that. And we can get kind of crazy, almost ring moddy kind of effects to kind of rhythmical effects like that, which again can be really cool with delay. And again, trying different filter types. Playing around with the resonance. And our drums have become something completely different. I should mention that with the ADSR, there is also a linear and an exponential switch, which will give you different response times, depending on what it is that you need and how you want them to respond to the music that you're using. So there's 4 really cool ways to open and close the filter using the envelopes, but we don't just have to use the envelopes. There's also sample and hold within the DF-8, which allows us to use that as a modulation source instead. So let me just plug in my DS2 again into the audio input. I do like that filter. And instead of using the envelope to open and close that filter, I've got it switched over now to sample and hold. And that sample and hold can be taken from the master section just over here. So now what happens if I send a gate input into my envelope, or I use this to trigger the envelope, let's just close that up. What happens is that the sample and hold actually gets fed into the CV path and kind of gets applied to the envelope that is open and closing filter. And with that, we can get these kind of really interesting kind of mini sequences within the modulation itself. And things get even funkier if we put the ADSR back into looping mode. And we have some really quick envelope times happening. And we can get some really interesting things going on there. The sample and hold also has slew, so we can smooth out what's going on there. So we've got this really interesting, a bit more complex kind of modulation going on with the filter, as opposed to just using the envelope on its own. Let's just hear that on a few more. Let's go to the notch plus. That kind of phaser-like sound. And the band stop plus. And don't forget, we can use this attenuverter here, the depth. We can actually go plus or minus with the amount of modulation that's occurring. And you'll get different responses. A little bit of delay. Fantastic. Now don't forget, everything that I've just been doing here with filter 1, you can do with filter 2 as well. So twice the amount of fun than what I've just shown you here. And in fact, the DF-8 can also run in stereo mode. There's a little switch here, puts it into stereo mode. And what happens there is that the filters now are sent hard left and hard right in the stereo output here. The delay stays in the middle, so you end up with this really nice stereo image that's going on. And for some extra ease of use, there's a little switch here, which is called envelope 1 link, which means that envelope 1 can now control both filters simultaneously, freeing up envelope 2 to do other things, which, for example, you could apply to the time of the delay and make that change over time. Sounds really cool. And also cutoff link as well, which means that these two are now controlled by the first cutoff dial. And you can use the second one as a kind of offset depending on where you have that to begin with. So yeah, you can use this in stereo mode, or you can use this in dual mono mode, or you can even patch one filter into another one as well and have them in series. Great, well I think there's only one last thing to do now, and I think that's to plug it into a Eurorack system and see what we can do with all these extra inputs and outputs. And all we do to put it in our Eurorack system is unscrew these 8 screws from the front of the DF-8, which will release the front panel, carefully turning it over, and you'll find that this cable here, and we just simply disconnect that. All we need now is a ribbon cable, and that ribbon cable simply connects into this here. There we go, that's now ready to go inside of our Eurorack case. Okay, there we are. I've got the DF-8 and the DS2 actually mounted now in my Eurorack modular case. And I know this looks maybe like a pretty complicated setup here, but it's really not. I've got a sequencer which is sending notes to the DS2. The DS2 is going through the DF-8. So channel 1 is going into filter 1, 2 is going into 2, and then that's going to the output over there. So if I hit play, and let's turn up channel 1 here, we can hear it's going into filter 1, which is on my favourite setting, which is the generate low pass filter. It's just great, I love it. But because we've got this now in a modular world, I can take modulation from anywhere else, and I can go into the cutoff modulation input of the filter. So instead of using this envelope, and I could use that if I want to. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the modulation that's coming out of this Varigate 4, which is creating a nice little pattern for me. And I plug that into the cutoff input. And now I've got this more kind of complicated modulation movement on the filter. Sounds great. And likewise, let's just turn that one down. I go to the second channel, which is going through the notch plus. I'm going to take modulation from the maths module over here and run that into the cutoff input of that filter. Which again is giving me loads of interesting dynamic movement. Let's bring back in the other channel. So we've got them both playing together there now. And of course, all we need is a kick drum and some hi-hats. And by playing with these filters now, playing around with the resonance, I can get a variety of different shapes, modulation, depth and control there. Sounds great. And of course, if I wanted to, at the same time, I could still use these envelopes along with the modulation input there. So I can use a combination of the envelopes, the modulation input. I could also use, of course, you know, the threshold of the audio running in there at the same time to trigger the envelope and use that at the same time. So there's loads and loads of potential there. And modulation is really when you can make things come alive. Anyway, that is the CPM DF-8 by Stylophone. And don't forget to like and subscribe. There's going to be some more videos where we'll do more deep dives into exactly what this can do, show you how it pairs up nicely with the DS2, and we'll do a few different patches and different audio setups so you can hear it in a number of different instances. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye for now.